Welcome everyone to the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. I'm Maggie Montemuro and I'm the Marketing Manager at Savvy Ladies. I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the chat box. If you're joining us by phone, you can email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is Smith Banfield, creator of Clear Space. Smith is an organizing and design consultant who helps people experience a shift in beliefs about what they hold on to, gain a renewed energy in their space, and the ability to find anything they need in less than a minute. Thank you for being with us, Smith, and let's get started.
Thanks so much, Maggie, and thank you and Lisa for having me here today. I'm so excited to be back, and in 2016, ready to get the year off straight. I know that's why we have so many people joining us today to learn how they can deal with their clutter and live in a more abundant life. So just a little about me. I just want to share that 2015, I launched working virtually with people, meaning we use Skype or FaceTime, and I had realized that this was a really easy way for me to see what the issues were in people's homes and be able to give them valuable solutions without having to actually be there live, so I could expand my business beyond New York City and its outer limits. So let's get started. I know you're all ready to see how you can get the abundance you want by taking control of your clutter. And this is, I want you to get in the idea of, you already have abundance. We all have abundance. It's just, what do you have abundance of? There's abundance of debt. There's abundance of stuff. There's abundance of, too many things. And what we want to do is, by really assessing all that you have, we want to make the determinations of what deserves to fill your home, what deserves to be in your presence. How can you live a richer life by surrounding yourself only with the things that make you feel great and really make your life easier? So first, I'm just going to talk a little about how we're affected by clutter. Obviously, everyone, the first thing they tell me is they are overwhelmed. And the overwhelm is just the idea of how they don't know where to start. How do I do this? How do I even begin? Because it's so big and so overwhelming, it doesn't seem possible. The next thing I hear all the time is lack of space. And lack of space is a big hang up here in New York City. It's something that people talk about all the time. I've lived here for over 20 years, and I have certainly found different ways to maximize my space. And a lot of that has come in the form of making different furniture choices, making different storage solutions available to myself, moving furniture in different configurations to make the space feel more open. And what I found a lot, and not to put men down, but my bachelors that I work with, they like to pack really big furniture into too small an apartment. And so there are things like that that people think, oh, I won't have enough seating, or I won't have enough that. If you're sitting in a crowded room, that's not good for anyone. Stagnation. Stagnation is about the energy of objects. When you think of someone sitting on a pile of money, they're miserly, they don't want to spend, it's a very closed feeling. You want to have more of an open feeling, and the open comes from, these possessions don't impact you the way that you're choosing. You are just allowing them to affect your life by not doing anything. And that's the choice you're making by not choosing to let these items go. And the vicious cycle is, because you're overwhelmed or not feeling great, you then go shopping and you buy a bunch of stuff that you think is going to make you feel better. Maybe you go to the Container Store and buy a bunch of organizing stuff, but then you come home and it's not the right size, or it didn't really solve the problem the way you expected. And that's, a couple of those things I'm going to clarify through this process as well. That quote from James Wallman, great book, and really his conclusion is about, we need more experiences in our life rather than stuff. It's going to give us a more rich life. If you could forward the slide, that'd be great. Okay, so here's our step number 1. Pare down your wardrobe. I know you don't want to hear it, folks, but this is so true. And these quotes are real, right? The average person only wears 20% of what they own 80% of the time. I made myself laugh a couple months ago that I have my own quote. This is a true Smith quote. When you feel like you have nothing to wear, it means it's time to do your laundry. Okay, that's really the bottom line here. You can only wear so many things in a given season. And this is something that people hold on to wardrobe for money. I spent money on it. And the way I look at this is you do not want to say, oh, I spent $60 on the sweater. When I get rid of the sweater, I'm getting $60 back. That $60 is for the experience of having that sweater, however long you may have it in your life. One of my favorite quotes is Debbie Allen, but out of limitations comes creativity. This is big for artists, and I think it's a great rule for everyone to take on in their life. You don't look good in every color. You don't look good in every style. Find out your colors, find out your styles, and stick to them. And you will be able to interchange and create amazing outfits with a very small wardrobe. Next slide, please. So here's how I go with the paring down of the wardrobe. This is literally gather every single piece of clothing. Do your laundry first, folks. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but do your laundry first. Get everything in one room and then sort them. Work pants, weekend pants, sweaters. And then you're going to see the stacks and you're going to say, whoa, I've got so many work pants, but I don't really need that many. And oh, I hardly have any blouses to go with them. When you have that inventory, step 2 of shopping mindfully, you will then be empowered when you're shopping. Oh, I don't need another pair of black pants. I need a white blouse. And you're going to be set on what you are shopping for. And number 3, huge, you should start this today. What you bring into your home, an equivalent must leave your home. So whether you are replacing an item, you get a new pair of boots, get rid of an old pair of boots. There is someone out there who needs a pair of boots more than you do that you're not even wearing. So please look at your stuff that's sitting in your home, making you overwhelmed, and think, who can I give this to that's going to enrich and better their life? Next slide, please. Okay, go paperless, folks. I know this is tough for so many people. I am a big paper person, and I have made great leaps and bounds. I used to have a ton of notebooks, tons of notebooks, and now I went with Live Scribe. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It is a way to write on special paper with a special pen, and then when you turn on your pen and turn on your iPad, everything you've written down is now in your iPad, and you can toss the notebooks when you're done. I love this as a solution. So here's a real thing. 23% of adults pay their bills late and incur late fees because they can't find them. There's no excuse for this. You can get all of your statements online. You can pay them online. I highly, 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 highly recommend this. I can't say how much this will change your life. And here, perfect, Barbara Hemphill tells us, paper clutter is no more than postponed decisions. We all know that, right? You move pile to pile to pile because you don't want to just make the decision and throw it out, or make the decision and do it. So that's something you can also help yourself in that area. Next slide, please. Online banking, okay? So similar to getting your credit card statements, you want to do all of your banking online. If you're already doing it, great, but this is something that I finally decided, like, I don't have checks anymore. If I can't pay with a credit card or cash, I'm not getting checks anymore. It's just silly. And the idea of using the banking on my phone, it's like, I love it. I pay all my bills through my phone. And just as we get further into this digital age, you're going to want to do everything you can on your phone and find ways to do things on your phone. Evernote is a fantastic solution. I think that when we look, Evernote, if you don't know what it is, it's really like an electronic version of a filing cabinet. But what's so amazing about it is you can even take an email and forward it by customizing the subject line, and it will go into the exact folder you need it to go into. It's like magic. It's amazing. I'll give you more information about that. Actually, I'll tell you right now, this book on iBooks called Evernote Unleashed will rock your world. It'll show you so many different ways to go paperless, and it will make your life so amazing, especially moms out there, for all your kids, permission slips and stuff you need. It's a great, great way to keep everything in one spot. And here, it sounds so simple. I want you to schedule weekly time to toss and shred. Lisa was just telling me that she's spent a lot of time shredding paper. It's a pain in the butt. If it's not something you're willing to do or you have a mountain to go through, there are services that will do this for you. I highly recommend if there is something you need to do that takes you more than an hour, this is wise words I got from Monica Shaw years ago, pay someone else to do it. Your time is too valuable. Next slide, please. Eliminate expired items. This is something I see so often when I go into my client's home of like, the fridge is filled with stuff that I know might have been there for 10 years. The cabinets have stuff that they haven't even checked. And not so much that you're going to get sick, but it's really a matter of, the oils you hold on to, anything like that will go rancid. You don't want to be eating rancid oil or things like that. And when I look at this number, Americans waste $156 billion in food each year. This comes in so many different forms, but it's similar to like when we shop for clothes. We don't know the inventory we have in the fridge, so we buy a bunch of stuff, and then we push everything to the back and we don't know what's in there. The same with the pantry and the cabinets. So it's really this idea of know your inventory. I love this quote, your dream doesn't have an expiration date. Take a deep breath and try again. I feel like people get really down on themselves about not being organized, but look, let yourselves off the hook. You're doing the best you can, and you can always dream to be more organized, and you can do it, okay? Next slide. Eliminate expired items, toiletries, folks. This stuff, you are holding on to stuff too long. This one people really don't like to hear, but you should. Anything you put on your lips or your eyes, ladies, that's a bacteria trap. And if you've had lipsticks for 5 years, you have to get rid of them. It's just gross. And the sample size things, if you have a sample size and you use it, it's going to expire very quickly because of just the surface area. It will just get contaminated very quickly. But also those sample sizes in closed containers, they don't last more than 6 months either. So if you're one of those people who's grabbing all the toiletries from the hotel rooms, just stop. It's not improving your life. You are not saving money. You're just stockpiling and really overwhelming yourself. Medications. This is something where, you don't want to throw this in the garbage. I think people can get in serious trouble with this. So you might want to flush it, or you can return medications to a drugstore and they will dispose of them for you. And like I said, with food, you really just want to be on top of it. You don't have to do it every week. But what I do is twice a year, I'll go through my pantry and go through my fridge. And just, it shows you, oh, I need soy sauce. I need more noodles, whatever you need. You can then have a clear version of those items and have a real clear idea when you're shopping of what you need. Next slide, please. Oh, this is my favorite, okay? Creating systems behind closed doors. The average person spends 1 year of their life looking for something they misplaced. I know you have better things to do with your time. And if you're looking for something every single day, please call me. Let's figure this out, because that is just a waste, such a huge waste. And this quote, amazing. I knew that the fewer items I was acquiring, dusting, packing, moving, and lugging around in life would free up my energy and time to create. Dorothy Brenninger. That is so true. And I find people who move a lot or travel a lot get really clear on eliminating and simplifying their lives. Next slide, please. So we're talking about creating systems behind closed doors, meaning your closets, your cabinets, your drawers. Each one of these should have a way to break down what the needs are in the closet and the way I start that. So if it's a clothing closet, you actually know what's in there. But if it's more of something where you have your coats and maybe some utilities, you want to section it off. You don't want your mops in with your coats. You want everything to have its own zone. And by zoning all of these areas, this is really the best step for you to know everything your own. This is the secret to finding anything in a minute. You've got to create these systems. And I know it is so hard to create your own systems. That's why people like me do this, is because I don't see it through this lens of emotion and conditioning. I see it with a very objective eye of how the best use of the space is and how you then can systematize and make it the best use of the space. Next slide, please. Okay, keep surfaces clear. I know this sounds a little like kindergarten and these seem really simple and like they couldn't possibly work, but I promise you, this is huge. When you decide that you are going to have clear surfaces surrounding you and that is the norm, it will be amazing how less overwhelmed you will feel. I promise you that. So here's a great statistic. Getting rid of clutter would eliminate 40% of the housework in the average home. Now, this is whether you're doing it yourself or your cleaning lady's doing it. This is great news. And I mean, to think about dusting and moving piles and all you need to do to make that happen, you can so make your life so much easier by just making that a rule across the board. Surfaces stay clear. Now, laugh all you want at me and tell me it's impossible, but I promise you there are ways. This quote my mother told me just a couple weeks ago. I loved it. I was like, you have to send this to me. Frank Sinatra, oh, love this man so much, and now I love him even more. If you possess something but you can't give it away, then you don't possess it, it possesses you. Huge. Next slide, please. So your kitchen counters. This is a big one because I'll say again, here in New York, we have very limited counter space. I had to have a conversation with my mother-in-law who loved to buy me small appliances. And I said, look, I don't have your kitchen. I have my kitchen. And if you get me a food processor and a blender, I think it's lovely and wonderful, but I don't have any place to store it. And I certainly don't want them on my countertops. Now, this is something that you want to look at. What is out on your counter and how often do you use them? So this is where you might decide, well, I don't use the blender every day. Maybe I use it once a week. That should not be sitting out all the time. If you use the toaster every day, that I can understand. But it's really this idea of what can you clear off those counters? And this is something by doing step 4, by creating spaces in those cabinets, that you can find a place for the blender to live so it's not taking up that valuable real estate on the counter. Your dining room table. Now, this could be your kitchen table. It's that place, it's that big empty space where you have to shove a bunch of stuff aside just to sit and have dinner. And I know in this day and age, people are just sitting on the couch, eating their dinner, watching TV, and no judgment there. But I think it is always wonderful that the dining room table is the dining room table and that you can sit and eat there very easily. And identify what is on that dining room table. What are you using it for? And then if you're using it as a desk, if you're using it for the kids' projects, maybe there's another place that needs to live and create a system elsewhere in the home. So for your desk, this is a big one for me. If you work out of your home and even your workspace in your office, more so in the public space of like where other people can see your desk, I hate to tell you, they're judging you. It's really a matter of management will take notice. People notice what kind of worker you are, and you will be judged by the way your office looks. So even in my home office, I've made a real point to really understand that I need to respect my space and respect my work and respect my clients. And if my clients were to come in and see my desk a disaster, that does not help me and my business. So kind of take that onto your own ideas of how you're working and see how you might be able to implement some change there. Again, your desk might just be not properly set up. If you've just got a surface with no filing drawers or shelves to use or boxes on those shelves to make things neater, that's the kind of systems you want to start thinking about. And you can talk to your manager about it and say, hey, I'd really like to clean up my desk. Here's a few things I'm going to need to do that. Next slide, please. Okay, so my final thoughts. If I didn't have that little cut out, I would have made it for my goal of finishing in 20 minutes, but I'm close. So here, I want you to think about passing along what's no longer special. If you have a friend over or a family member comes to your house, oh, I always loved that photograph, or I always loved that vase, give it to them, especially if it doesn't mean anything to you anymore. Just because something was special to you 10 years ago doesn't mean it's still special to you now, and it's okay. You have other things you want to bring in that will feel special to you, and in order to do that, you have to make space for it. As I spoke about in step 1, you want to limit colors. Limiting colors is not just about your wardrobe. You want to think about it in your home, because the more colors you have, the more it sort of aggravates your eyes and like feels overwhelming. So you want to stick to a color palette. You want to assign where everything lives. This is so valuable. And like I said, it's the hardest part for a lot of people. This is actually one of my specialties. I'm happy to talk to anybody about this to kind of like give them some brainstorming ideas. Paperless wherever possible. Really, there's that old saying about only touch paper once, and I find that's a very hard rule for myself, but you can do it. And now it's, even if you just take a photograph of that paper so you've got a record of it, do that. It's going to make your life so much better. Schedule times to put things back where they belong. I know, again, sounds like kindergarten. Really, that's all we need to do is like follow that kindergarten routine of where things belong and put them back. This is something that literally you could schedule, Saturday morning for 20 minutes. And it's actually something I find completely satisfying, and I'm excited to do it because I just want my space to feel comfortable. Next slide. So here is my exclusive opportunity for anyone on the webinar today, or those of you who are listening to it later. I'm offering a free 30-minute call to have your abundance breakthrough session. We can go deeper on what aspects, what are you holding on to, and what do you want in your life? And I can give you some special ideas of how to go further with that. I have 12 spots available between today and January 16th, so seize the day. Shoot me an email at clearspace, it's smith@clearspacenyc.com, and I will send you a link to get in my schedule. And also just wanted to announce to you all, my new website is launching February 1st. I am so excited. If you go to my existing website now, which is clearspacenyc.com, you can sign up for my 10 tips. That's going to be going away. But then you'll be one of the first people to receive my next free gift, which are my three free video series. That's my first 3 steps of how I work with all my clients. It's valuable information, and I'd love for you to get that before everyone else. So definitely take care of that. And that's it for me. I would love to take some questions. Maggie, if you've got some, let me have it.
Okay, great. We had some questions that came in, and I just want to remind everyone that if you have any now, you can type them into the chat box or email info@savvyladies.org. One of the ones that came in before was, I've tried to make myself stick to a routine of going through paperwork that piles up, but I always come up with excuses or get lazy after a few sessions. Do you have any tips on sticking with it?
Accountability. You need someone to hold you to account, whether it's a friend, whether you hire someone like me, whether you have a coworker. You need to put it in your calendar. And then if you can't get to it for some reason, you have to go tell that person, I didn't get it done, I'm going to reschedule for here. And that is something that you can't do it alone. I know some people don't like to share that they have problems with this organization. They feel like it's a dirty little secret. But you might find that inviting someone to help you might inspire them to hold themselves accountable for something in their lives. And I think it really benefits both people for having that idea of, oh, I really want to do this and I just can't do it. And this is like especially true with a woman I just worked with, or I'm working with right now, who's been trying to get organized for a really long time. And I'm just working with her virtually. And because she has to call me and tell me how she did, she's doing the work. So that's part of it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question is, I feel guilty throwing out things even when they're old, broken, or worn, because I think there must be organizations that can repurpose them. As a result, my apartment is cluttered while I continue to delay finding these organizations. Do you know of any of them, or do you have some suggestions for me?
I do. Off the top of my head, I don't have the list of them, but there is one company, I absolutely love this company. They make the innards of sofas out of old clothes. The name is escaping me, but I love that idea. And there are many, many, many. Like if you've got clothes that are not wearable, there are options like that where people are recycling clothing into other items. So I don't know if that came in as an email, Maggie. I could look that up and email you, and you could forward that. But I will make a note to get that info after I get off the phone.
Okay, thank you. That sounds great.
I love that question, by the way. Thank you for whoever asked that. I think it's great. And yes, I don't want you guys throwing stuff away. I want you to find other places to get it to when possible. And that is like a real big thing in my life right now, is how to get items that are still in good condition from people in my world into the hands of people who don't have. And you'll be hearing more about that through my website coming up very soon.
Okay. Another question that came through is, I need help on keeping my desk clear. If I don't have paperwork in front of me, I'll forget about it. But after a while, the paper becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, that I hear this one a lot, and I did a talk for an ADHD group, and their whole thing was, no, it has to be in front of me. If I don't see it, I won't do it. And this is where I ask all of you, you really have to start using your phones for more than playing Candy Crush and going on Facebook. You want to set reminders in there. So that the reason saying that, oh, I won't remember it, so I have to leave it on my desk, that doesn't prove true, because you're just going to get overwhelmed by all the papers you're trying to keep out. And the system of that isn't workable. So to create a workable solution, it's going to be more about, I'm going to set a reminder for Tuesday at 2, I need to go through this folder about this. And when you set yourself reminders, you're going to get in the habit of, okay, this file or this group of paper lives in this desk drawer. And when my alarm goes off, I'll take it out of that desk drawer and do the work, and then I'm going to put it back. So it's really about, you have to think outside of your normal ways. Like the only way of remembering paper is having on your desk. You might want to just, even if you're not going to be all about using your phone for reminders, then I would say give yourself a very small area on a wall for about 6 post-it notes. And you can write notes on those post-it notes to say reminder on this and reminder on that. My only issue with that is once you have a post-it up for more than a couple of days, you start to not see it anymore. It just becomes part of the wallpaper. So I really highly recommend getting stuff and reminders into your phone and relying on your phone to tell you when you have to do stuff.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, for the last few years, I have set aside one day each year to reorganize my space and clear out my clutter. I usually don't end up finishing everything in one day and have to deal with lots of piles, although organized piles, in different rooms. I wish I could organize more frequently or efficiently, but I just never make the time. Do you have some suggestions?
This is why I think a lot of people don't start organizing, for this very reason. And really, you set up for unrealistic expectations. Now, if you were to spend, I don't know, it depends on the size of your home, but I'm going to pretend you're in New York and you've got like a 1-bedroom apartment. For something like that, and depending on how much stuff you have, that is more like a 2-weekend project. And to me, what I've learned from working with my clients is after 4 hours, your eyes glaze over and you can't make any more decisions. So you can keep going all day long, but you're not really solving problems. You're just getting in deeper and making bigger mess. So if you were to spend 2 weekends, 4 hours each day over the weekend, to get yourself really pared down, I promise going forward in the future, you wouldn't have to spend that much time again. It's really about, if you set up reminders each week to put things back where they belong, and you've done your inventory and you know what's there, you can do all these projects. You could then once a year take a 4-hour day and just make sure you're not holding on to the stuff that you don't really want anymore. And I would say once a year is great for really like, oh, I really haven't worn this sweater in 3 years now. It's time for it to go. Whereas if you, like I said, if you're just doing one day out of the year for this to declutter an apartment that has too much in it, it's just an unrealistic expectation. And then you say, well, organizing doesn't work. So for me, it's like you really need to take the time to do the big clean out, and then it's about maintenance, regular maintenance.
Okay, thanks. And do you have time for one last question?
Of course.
Okay. Um, I have an issue with photos, a lot of photos. Do you have a suggestion for how to manage them? They take up a lot of space in my small apartment.
Photos. Yeah. Okay. So photos, I'm actually about to start this project on my own for myself. It's, I was a photography major. I have a load of negatives. I have all my family's photos and negatives. And going back to my great grandfather. I've got a lot of photos too. And really, this is a matter of coming up with, I'm always going to say system, but really it's like whatever the solution. Depends on the size of the photos, but you want to organize by, definitely by size. You want to keep your 3x4 photos, not with your 5x7 photos. You definitely want to categorize them that way. And then within each, you would then set up a time period. And this is a large project. I know how big this is for anyone to tackle. This is one of those projects that I would say, depending on how near and dear it is for you to do it yourself, this is something you might want to hire someone to do. I don't actually do this work because it's so tedious. There are people out there who do photo organization. They're amazing. And I do have a couple names if anyone needs them. But I would say it's really a matter of understanding what all those photos are doing. And if these are important photos to you, I'm going to ask, why are they not in an album? Why are they not on the wall? Why are they not where you can see them? Because by just storing photos, this is why I'm doing my own project, is my feeling is I am keeping all this photography from the world, and they need to see it. And my whole game plan is I will show the photo on Facebook. The first person who tells me they'll take it, they have to promise me to buy a frame and that they'll hang it on a wall. And that to me is like, it's just devastating to know that all these photographs are just like hiding in the closet, because someday you'll pull them out and they'll just be dust. They just will disappear. So I would say definitely, you can even hire someone to scan them all too. That would be a great way. Is just that way you have them in the cloud if they get damaged any further.
Okay, that's great. Well, I want to thank you again, Smith, for a really excellent presentation. I want to thank everyone who joined us today and asked questions. We hope that we'll see you again for future webinars. And thank you again so much, Smith.
Thank you, and thank you, Lisa, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.